takes a minute
Yeah.
to get going, and I have to reduce the volume on this one
Okay.
so I can see the chat. All right. Welcome to another session of Blue Island 101. My name is Randy Heuser, and along with me is Bill Farrenwald. Today we'll be discussing the city clerk's office and the building department.
Thanks, Randy. And anyone who's watching, remember that we are monitoring the YouTube comments and the Zoom chat. Or if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to just type away, and we will do our best to answer all the questions that come in during this session. Today are going to be, again, we talked a little bit about community development last time, and we're going to kind of finish that area up today. And I'm going to lead that. And Randy, who is the certainly resident expert in the clerk's office, is going to take us through that one. And there's a lot going on in both places. So I hope that this is not too much information all at once, but certainly, again, ask questions if we don't cover what you need to have covered. And most of what else goes on in the community development department is out of the building department. And it has a number of responsibilities, starting with building safety. The department is responsible for administering all the building codes of the city of Blue Island, which are fairly extensive. A code enforcement, of course, goes along with that. There's a property maintenance inspector who responds to all property maintenance complaints and will definitely try to remedy situations as quickly as possible. And health is another area that the building department oversees. There's a city health inspector whose job is to ensure the public health and safety and visitors to our city. And probably the thing that keeps her the busiest is the inspection of businesses that sell food, food products. Then under that also becomes planning and zoning, which its primary mission is to provide the regulatory framework and the leadership to guide the city in that process, which incorporates the creation, implementation, monitoring, and updating of its vision and support of its respective boards, commissions, and committees. And I'm particularly familiar with that because I was chair of our plan commission for a number of years and view that as being a particularly important organization because it helps make sure that the city is, has control over the development that goes on within its boundaries and follows the plan that we have. And so you might hear terms like C2, R1, or UTOD, Uptown Transportation Development Area, which is talked about when the city is trying to see if a business or apartment building might be appropriate in a certain spot. And what you see here is just the zoning map, and those colored fields represent all those different types of categories that specifically spell out where certain types of businesses can be conducted. So, for instance, you wouldn't want to own a home and then in the property located next door to you, someone opens up a manufacturing business like Modern Drop Forge. So there are areas in Blue Island, the yellow area, I think, is largely zoned for residential, and that's what's permitted to be built there. Now, occasionally someone might want to apply for a zoning variance, and for that, you'd have to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals. And good examples of that kind of thing are converting a single-family home into a two-flat, or an auto repair shop wanting to open in a C2 zone property. And in our uptown transit-oriented development district, perhaps if a catering company wanted to open there, that's not permitted as an automatic permission, but such a business can apply for a variance. And often it will be granted. It does go through a fairly extensive process to make sure that there aren't problems with other local residents or businesses. But there is a process to go through if you want to do something like that. And some of the services that the building department provides includes the issuance of building permits. So when you do need a permit, and they're required for most work done in and around your house, check with the building department if you have any questions on that. And you can also inquire whether you can do the work yourself. Sometimes it's okay and sometimes it's not. The building department also issues garage sale permits, and the city does charge $5 for a garage sale permit, and there's a $25 refundable deposit after the city verifies that you have removed any signage that you put up for the yard sale. And Randy, I believe that residents are permitted one yard sale per year.
There's a couple. They can do a couple, and also if I can back up for a second on the can I do my own work? If you're gonna do your own like construction stuff in your own house, that's great. But plumbing, electric, and roof do need a licensed contractor. If you're rehabbing a house, commercial property, you need to have a licensed contractor do everything for you. But you should double check with the building official to make sure if you have any questions.
I see we got a question here. Are there any COVID protocols for coming in for a permit? And Randy, you're there all the time. I know that you've got to wear a mask and so forth. Is there anything else kind of behind?
Everyone has to wear a mask to come into City Hall. Absolutely. And then also they have a protective barrier for the staff to interact with the members of the public.
Right. That building department's also the starting point for business license applications, liquor license applications, and business district grant applications, which are a relatively new thing. That we have a fund that's been established where businesses can be funded up to, I think it's up to $7,500 now for improvements basically along Western Avenue for exterior improvements. Also, any contractors who want to do business in Blue Island need to register with building department. And they also handle property inspections, which are required when you decide you want to sell a property, and rental property inspections are also handled through that. And then also vacant property needs to be registered with the building department, which is important because there are certain things the city can do to maintain certain properties and kind of keep an eye on properties that are vacant. And there are other incentives. The last session, we mentioned some other incentives, tools to incentivize business development. And for all those things, the building department is where you would want to start the application process. So there's a lot that goes on in the building department. It's a busy place. But we have, professional staff there that's trained in those things, and they are there to help you. And I see we have a clarifying point on this question about going into the building department. Can you do anything online? What about for folks who get off at 4:30 or 5 o'clock? How do you negotiate that situation when your schedule may not quite match up with building department? They do start pretty early, I think, also, right, Randy?
Right. They start they're open 7:30 to 4, and as of right now, there's nothing that can be done online, to my knowledge. But they can email you forms and stuff like that. But as far as actually getting permits, no, that's not available online at this point in time.
Okay. All right. So that's a quick overview of the building department. And Randy, I'll let you talk about your world over there in the post.
Yeah. I was telling Bill, I was kind of surprised when I was putting this all to paper, how much actually gets done through the clerk's office. But basically, the clerk attends all meetings of the corporate authority, including executive sessions, and keeps a full record of the proceedings in the form of minutes. The clerk publishes all ordinances, either in local newspaper or in pamphlet form. We happen to publish them in pamphlet form and then place them on our website. And we have a service, American Legal Publishing, that does the codification for us. And as of right now, let me see if I can share this. We have the website right here is where you be able to get the ordinances. Now, if you see here, it says the local legislation current through ordinances 2014-040 was passed 7/8 of 14. That's where everything after 7/8 of 14 is on our website. It's blueisland.org, and under the clerk's office, you can see where there's the link to get to the ordinances. The clerk has custody and control of all municipal documents, books, and papers that the corporate authority designates. I've got some pretty pretty old documents in the vault. I have the original book of ordinances from the late 1800s. It's in very, very good shape. I pull it down occasionally to show people if they're interested. I've got some old maps and stuff like that. Some of the old original ordinances after yeah, and then
Familiar? Yeah.
and then every alderman gets one of those so that they can reference and then keep track of everything else. The clerk is also in Blue Island is the local registrar of vital statistics and keeps the records of the births and deaths that occur in Blue Island. So if you were born in Blue Island or had a family member that died in Blue Island, you would come to my office and we would be able to provide you with a copy of a birth certificate or death certificate, whichever the case may be. I was born in Blue Island. I could certify my own birth certificate. I don't know if they'd take that. And also the clerk is the local election authority. So I post what offices are up for election. I receive the nominating petitions when they're due, and if necessary, hear ballot protests. The clerk is a member of the election board along with the mayor and the most senior alderman on the council. The clerk's office, the clerk is also the Freedom of Information Officer. If anyone requests any information of the city, they should send it to the clerk's office and I will send it to the appropriate place to get your information. And you should get a response within 5 days, or an extension or voluminous or whatever. There's several different replies on FOIA, but just generically, if you need a document, you would contact my office. Some FOIA responses will have information redacted. So personal information, if you're looking for a police report, witness statements or juvenile names. So there's a whole litany of information that can be redacted. On that same note, if you're looking for information, the municipality is not required to create any lists. So if you're looking for some information where it's not readily available, I had someone request how many red tag, a list of the red tags. We don't keep a list of the red tags for water that was sent out. We don't. So we don't have to create that list. The clerk ensures that the city complies with the Open Meetings Act. Open Meetings Act is a guiding state statute on the conduct of meetings concerning an open format, with the public being able to witness the events and discussion of public officials when conducting public business. On that note, Open Meeting Act requires agendas be posted at least 48 hours in advance of any meeting. It also requires that any item that's going to be voted on be on an agenda so that there's nothing that's put through without the public being aware of it. The Open Meeting Act requires openness, and the public has a right to be informed as to the conduct of the business of the city. Also, the Open Meetings Act provides for closed session or executive session. That's where you would talk about such things as pending litigation or employment or compensation of specific employees. And there's been a recent change in the Open Meetings Act with the onset of COVID. It used to be that you had to have a physical quorum of the body, and in the meeting place in order to conduct a legal meeting. That's been changed. With COVID, remote meetings are now allowed without a physical quorum, and in the case of declared emergency. So when you hear the beginning of every meeting, the mayor will read a statement that he's declared that it's unsafe for everyone to be in the meeting. So that's why we do that. Clerk is also responsible for filings with the county and the state. Each year, the finance department prepares a tax levy, and that's based on, so this year we're going to file by the end of December the tax levy for the taxes collected for the year 2020, which will be next year. So that has to get filed with the county. By end of March, we have to file appropriation. So we look at the last year's expenses and we come up with a budget, an annual budget based on our projected revenue and whatnot, and then file our appropriations by the end of March. Um, Annual treasurer's report. That has to be filed end of June every year. We've had some issues with that in the past couple of years with change of staff and getting that information not available till the audit is done. So we've had a little bit of a hiccup the past couple of years with that, with a change of staff and getting everything done. But the county understands, and as long as we keep them informed, they're doing just fine with it. Whenever you see road projects or any kind of big projects being done, we have to put them out to bid. So out of my office, we file legal notices in the newspaper for such things like that, or public hearings, or like I mentioned before about the appropriations, there's a public hearing for that. That's published in the newspaper at least a couple weeks in advance. And then down to the nuts and bolts of what actually happens in my office. City stickers. Every year we sell city stickers the month of June. Public hearings, or like I mentioned before about the appropriations. Excuse me. So the city stickers are done every year in June. I also sell animal licenses for dogs and cats that, if you bring in your rabies tag number and your information about your pet, we'll sell you animal license or registration. And this works great too. We just got the police now have that information in their vehicle. So if they see an animal running down the street, a dog or a cat, and they are able to get it, and there's a tag on there in their car now, they're capable of pulling up that number and see who it belongs to. So and it's a nominal fee. It's $10. So it's just enough to administer the program. If you're going to have a block party, which is always fun, and it's been, hopefully we'll be able to get to a point where we can have those again sometime soon. But you need to get permission from the city to block off the public way. It has to go to city council because we're going to block off streets for a certain number of hours on a certain day. And you need to get permission from your neighbors so they understand. And also it helps inform the police and fire that if there is an emergency, they know that street is blocked. They can't go down a certain street to get to your house or through to somewhere if there's an emergency. Another program that's administered out of my office, at least the application process, is the peddler solicitor's license. We really try to limit that in the city. There's a lot of people that are doing bad things, and not, when they're not licensed, we really try and keep track of them so that no one's coming in our town going door to door and getting in people's houses without knowing who they are. So as of right now, there is no one. Well, and let me just say this. I think there's been one or two in the 7+ years that I've been clerk. There's only been one or two peddlers licenses allowed. We really try and protect our seniors, especially from people that might be predators.
And I'd like maybe chime in there.
Sure.
It doesn't happen too often, but if someone does show up at your door, and often it's one of these energy company scams or whatever, let them know they can't be there and that you're going to call police if you want them out of the neighborhood. And it's because they can't be there.
Right, exactly. And just, if not, call the police. They're 99.9% guaranteed they are not licensed in the city of Blue Island. I live all the way at the north end of town, and people think they're still in Chicago, and they knock on my door, and I tell them, no, you don't. And they go, well, yeah, we have permit. It's like, no, I'm the one that issues them. No, you don't. So anyway, so Bill mentioned earlier about business license and liquor license that you would start in the building department to try and or to apply for your license, and that's where the building department will go out and they'll help you with signage and the requirements for your business. But when it comes time to pay the bill or to actually get registered, you come to my office for that. And then renewal notices are sent out of my office as well for business and liquor. That liquor is January 1 and business is May 1. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm the local registrar. So if you need birth certificates or death certificates, you come through my office as well. If you need a handicap parking sign in front of your house, you have to come get the form from me and get a copy of, have the doctor sign, bring a copy of the permanent placard you have from the state, and then we'll send it to committee and get an ordinance prepared so that we can have signs put in front of your house if you need them. People wonder why it takes so long to get them. It's because it does have to go through a process. We have a staff person that goes out and will give you a call and ask, what the situation is, if you have a garage and why you can't use the garage, if it's closer to go from the street. There's all kinds of stuff that Mark will ask, all the questions Mark will ask. And the last thing is in my office is I'm the collector. So the collector is the person who is responsible for collecting and reporting monies collected and or due the city, such as the water bills, parking tickets, the city stickers, like I mentioned, rent. We have a couple of cell towers. We have a couple of pieces of land that we own on the northeast side that people are still occupying. They pay us rent. And retirees have to pay a portion of their health insurance that comes through all the money from the gaming, all the checks, everything that comes to the city basically gets deposited through the clerk's office or the collector's office, which that's the other hat I wear. I'm called the clerk collector. So yeah, there's a lot that goes on in the first floor of City Hall there between the building department and the clerk's office.
I got a question for you, Randy, but before
Sure.
my question, just remind everybody who's watching either on YouTube or on Zoom, if you'd like to submit a question, you can just type it in Zoom on the chat box. On YouTube, there's also a chat box, and we'll be glad to answer your question. And Randy, I just wanted to ask you maybe to talk a little bit more about the thing that is, from an alderman's perspective, is a thing that I hear most often about, which is city stickers for your car. There's some questions sometimes about does everybody get a city sticker who's supposed to, and so on and so forth. And I know you've been kind of really on top of that this year, so maybe you could just talk a little bit about that.
Right. So the police department has done a pretty good job this year doing a enforcement drive. I think they wrote right around 2,000 tickets for people either overnight parking or not having a sticker. And that's nice. I mean, we don't want to give tickets. All we're looking for is compliance. If you have a vehicle in the city of Blue Island, you live in Blue Island, you need to register your vehicle with the Secretary of State, and then also get a sticker from the city of Blue Island.
Right. And we got a question about garage sales here, Randy.
Right.
See that one?
I do see it. So I'm not 100% certain on the number. I believe it's 3. I'm not 100% certain. But you start out in the building department and they will collect your, it's $5 for a garage sale, but there's a $25 deposit to make sure that's refundable after the building official or one of the inspectors drives around the neighborhood to make sure there's no signs that are still left up on light poles or in yards or on a street corner. So you sign up for it in the building department, you pay for it in the clerk's office.
And another thing that the building department does that you might not be aware of, and I know there's always concerns about, trash around the town, and we all hate to see it. If you are aware of, often in an alley, perhaps someone is, either not maintaining their, they're really overgrown with weeds, or worse yet, they've got garbage out there. If you complain to the building department about that, they will come out and they probably will get resolved. So, and if you want to, you can also work through your alderman on that. But that is something that it does help people, and it'll get the attention of the whole block when that happens. So it's something. Yeah.
And they'll do pocket enforcement then. If they see a problem in an area, they'll go a couple blocks in the radius to make sure, that issues are being addressed and corrected. We have a pretty robust building code, and we're for a while there we had a couple people off, and they're doing a pretty good job now. But hopefully we can continue.
Right, exactly. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and then you'll be up to date, because we do this every week. This is number 3, Randy?
Number 3 so far.
And Randy's got a nice agenda of subjects we're going to go through. how the entire city functions. And so you can hear and listen to all that and ask any questions you got. And, we'll be
Yeah.
the best we can to make you sure you
Yeah.
understand. I don't understand it all myself yet. I've been for years. So there's
Well, and
a than you might think.
yeah, and that's kind of why I was hearing a lot of people say that, and it's like, you know what, we need to do more of this, and an educational awareness thing. But anyway, so thanks for listening. We hope you have picked something up today. We've been informative for you, and look forward to seeing you next week, Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Tell your Blue Island friends